And I'm sitting in the back of the plane, and I'm squished in there, and I'm right next to the bathroom because I bought like the last ticket, and the exhaust is like shoving in my face. So I'm already like, this is going to be horrible. And all of a sudden I see this guy get on the plane, when guys are so big, they can't walk straight. So he's like waddling down the aisle, just looking at the seat next to me like, I was like, Lord, don't do it to me. So I'm there, and he comes up into the seat next to me, and he looks at the seat, and he looks at me, and in the manliest voice I've ever heard, he said, I think that's my seat, I was like, I think any seat you want is your seat, but whatever, dude. So when this guy sat down, I'm not kidding you, my entire body pancaked against the side of the plane. So he sat down, I was like, immediately all my ribs are broken. I can't talk, I can't breathe, I can't catch my breath. So I did what any good person does. I pretended like I was falling asleep. So I didn't have to talk to him. It's, kind of like doing like that. Of course, it doesn't work. And all of a sudden he said what everybody says whenever they see a young priest. He asked the question everybody always asks when they see a young priest, and that is, are you a priest? I'm like, it's not Halloween. He's like, are you a priest? And I was like, are you the Incredible Hulk? I said, yeah, man, I'm a priest. And he said, well, I used to be Catholic. And I got really excited because I'm like, we got 25 minutes. You're about to be Catholic again. Let's talk, So we start talking and sharing, and this guy just opened his heart up to me. Just talking about reading a book by its cover. I thought it's got a big story, but he just opened his whole heart up to me, and he just started sharing. And it's a familiar story. We've heard these stories all the time, and his basic thing was this: Father Joe, I've achieved all my dreams. He's like, I wanted to make a ton of money. And I did. He's like, I wanted to make $1 million, but he was in his young 30s. He said, I wanted to make $1 million by the time I turned 30, and I did. He said, so I made my money. I made my $1 million. And he's like, then I got famous with this bodybuilding. He's famous in his bodybuilding world. And then he's like, so I had the pleasures, I had the money, I had the fame. I achieved everything that I wanted to do. All the worldly success that I wanted, I've got. And I'm like 33 years old. And I'm like, well, what's the problem? He said, I'm not happy. I'm not happy, Father. And he just started sharing how he was unhappy and how he'd been looking for happiness and how he thought he was going to get it and all these different things. And he was so humble. It was amazing. He was basically like, what am I missing? What is it, Father? And I just started sharing to him about Jesus, about how God is real, about how God loves him, about how God has chosen him and called him his beloved son. And I just started to speak about the love of God and that our hearts are made for love. We're not made for anything. They're made for love, and not just any love. We're made to be loved infinitely. And so Connor Flanagan, who just talked here, right, he has this CD, God bless you, he has this CD called God-Sized Hole, right? And he talks about this. We have this God-sized hole in our heart, and so only God's going to be able to fulfill it, right? We can take all the money, all the power, all the pleasure, all the popularity, all the fame in the world. It's never going to satisfy. What about another million? Not going to do it. How about another? Not going to do it, right? How about more pleasure? Not going to do it. How about bigger fame? If I get even more famous, if I go like ID 917 or something like that, that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't set. And so I started speaking to this guy about the person of Jesus and his love for him. Guys, the next thing I know, this guy is bawling his eyes out, just crying on my shoulder, which was awkward because he had no neck. So it was like, like trying to hold this guy, people on the plane are like, what's going on? I'm like, don't worry about it. It happens all the time.